We all live in our own bubble, the bubble of our mind, how we see ourselves, the world, and what we think is or isn't possible. And this is where beliefs about ourselves are formed. But imagine if those beliefs are that we aren't good enough to make our parents proud, or we're worthless and undeserving of love and relationships. Every day would be a living nightmare. The truth is, we all struggle with limiting beliefs, but there are ways that we can learn to live with these beliefs without giving them as much power, and for some of them, to overcome them completely. First, we need to recognize where limiting beliefs come from, because in order to address them, we need to identify them. And I resonated with Dr. Maltz's idea of self-image. He was a plastic surgeon, and during his career, he noticed how some of his patients, regardless of how dramatic or intensive their physical reconstruction, they were unable to experience joy because they had a limiting self-image. He believes that all feelings of inferiority, our limiting beliefs, originate not so much from facts or experiences, but our conclusions regarding facts and our evaluation of experiences. It's like we're wearing the wrong prescription lenses and we don't even know it, right? Imagine failing all of your standardized tests because you couldn't read the questions, when really you just needed new glasses. Most people develop limiting beliefs early on in life, during adolescence or even younger, and we carry them with us for decades. And that's why we often can't even identify what the problems are, but they're still holding us back. And every time we reinforce our limiting beliefs, we attach or reattach emotional energy to them, and that becomes reality. Once our limiting beliefs have established deep roots in our mind, we lose the ability to grow or see new opportunities unless we can lift that fog that's clouding our vision. But by understanding how these beliefs work, I want to share 3 ways to beat them. So first is to understand that limiting beliefs are a lack of knowledge. Most of us have an instinctive reaction to say, I can't, when we're pushed outside of our comfort zone. But really, as I dug into that statement, into that emotion, the resistance comes from, I don't know how. So when we look at it that way, many limiting beliefs actually come from a lack of knowledge. So on my emergency medicine rotation in med school, I was asked to draw blood a lot from patients. And at the time, having never done it before, I just told all the staff members, I can't. I'd get some side eye, they probably thought I was this huge slacker student who didn't want to do any work, which is fair. I probably would have thought the same. But one day, my resident who I was working with asked me to do it, and I said the same thing. I can't do it. And without even looking up from her computer screen, she said, well, today we're gonna learn. So if we think about it from a job perspective, when we don't know how to do something, we learn. We get trained or we ask for help. The reason why this works so well is because filling in the knowledge gaps allow us to deconstruct the limiting belief. Simply saying, I can't do it, and throwing in the towel doesn't tell us much about anything. So dig deeper. What is it that's holding you back? I can't draw blood because I don't know the difference between needle gauges. I don't know how to distinguish a vein from an artery. I don't know the technique to properly insert the needle. Deconstruct that limiting belief and figure out where your knowledge gaps are, and then learn them. Number 2 is to present new evidence. Remember that limiting beliefs are an interpretation of reality. So we need to present new evidence to reveal the true story. For my entire life, I thought public speaking was 100% not possible for me. The thought of standing in front of a group of people staring into my soul just gives me unbearable anxiety. I'd rather eat 50 Serrato peppers than imagine having to do that. But then this past year, I got invited to speak at the NSLC at UC Berkeley for a group of 300 students. And my initial knee-jerk reaction, of course, was to say, hell no. And I remember I was sitting with friends at a coffee shop when I got the invitation, and one of them looked at me and said, haven't you already done something like this before? And that made me think. I've already given presentations and lectures in class before. I've led group discussions as a tutor. I've given speeches as best man for multiple weddings. Wait a minute, I've already done this before. What my friend helped me do was bring up all this new evidence I hadn't even realized existed. And that feeling of intimidation actually went down. And I could see past my limiting belief at this cool opportunity to connect and teach students. And yes, for those of you wondering, I did end up giving the talk, which to my surprise went way better than I expected, and the feedback was very positive. I still don't see public speaking in my future, but at least now I have even more evidence that it can be done. The point I'm trying to get at is this: you don't have to believe everything you think. Actually, we should train ourselves to act regardless of what we think. And in that way, we build up this library of evidence where we did do things that we didn't believe were possible. Something else that's worked for me now is to physically write down your accomplishments. Keep a running tab of things that you do so that when those limiting beliefs resurface, you have tangible, physical proof that it's not impossible. And to build off of this idea is my third piece of advice. Redefine the idea of success. We tend to fixate on negative experiences more than positive ones. This is referred to as pessimism bias. Even if 50 people leave comments about how valuable or helpful my content is, one negative comment about my long nose hair overshadows them all. And to me, it all ties back to a fear of failure. Each negative comment injected a little bit of self-doubt into my mind, which made me question my ability to be successful. But I realized if I can change what success means, I can remove the fear of failure from the equation completely. Like, I couldn't fail at something if it's not the goal in the first place. What does success look like for your limiting beliefs? Because that version might be structured in a way that guarantees failure. For example, I used to go on dates with this romantic and really stupid belief that success meant she was going to become my girlfriend. And when I was inevitably rejected, I'd feel like a complete failure. But that belief is structured for failure because I have no control over that outcome. So instead, I began to redefine success to mean progress. Success means I'm going to have as much fun as possible on this date. I'm going to ask questions that are more engaging. I'm going to smile more. I'm going to try different jokes and limit self-sabotaging behaviors. Those are all things I have control over and things I can measure. For making those changes, not only was I able to be more myself, I didn't get as bogged down by negativity. I didn't feel like I failed when dates didn't go anywhere because that wasn't my goal. My goal was progress. As Maxwell Maltz says, a step in the wrong direction is still better than staying on the same spot all your life. Because once you're moving forward, you can correct your course as you go. As long as we get the ball rolling, we can break limiting beliefs. Now, there is something that all three of these tips have in common. They all help us build confidence, because building confidence breaks down limiting beliefs. By learning skills to bridge the gap, I saw progress and a rise in my confidence. By gathering new evidence to question my beliefs, I was gaining confidence that I was able to do a lot more than I once thought. And by understanding that I didn't have to believe what my mind thinks gave me confidence that I could act and make decisions on my own terms. I'd love to know in the comments which aspect of this you personally struggle with, and also don't forget to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. So anyways, that's what's really worked for me in overcoming limiting beliefs. Build up your confidence in your abilities. And if you have no clue where to start with that, might I suggest checking out this video right over here about acquiring and learning new skills.